After eons of waiting, we're finally seeing Yuta back in action. The hype machine himself, the only person that seems to have been hyped up to be near the tier of Satoru Gojo, and it seems that Satoru believes that Yuta could surpass him at some point someday. So extra hype on top of that. And I've liked this character. I thought he was really cool in Volume Zero. I like his design. I like his backstory, and I'm really curious to see how he's going to fight now, because now he's obviously in way better control. He's way more experienced, and we're gonna see just the extent of what he can do. And we saw a couple chunks in the chapter of both information on him, but also information on Satoru that gave a little bit more kind of clarity on one of the ways that he's really OP with his six eyes, which I thought was really cool. And I'm curious to know further explanation on how that is, because the six eyes are the biggest kind of question mark right now for Satoru, because we know that the big thing about him that was the sign of his he was going to grow up and be really powerful was he had both the unlimited curse manipulation technique and he had the six eyes, which was, they said it was somebody born with both is one in every thousand years, because it's not just he's got the unlimited curse technique, it's the fact he combines it with the six eyes that he's so powerful, on top of that. But during the chapter, we see Yuta just make his move. He immediately just crushes a good chunk of this concrete zone near the road. He just completely smashes it. So we see his physical strength, but it's explained that it's not like he's just physically strong, kind of like Maki or Yuji or Todo or any of those guys. It's that he's not very strong, but he's enhancing his physical capabilities through cursed energy. It's just a buffing technique rather than his base strength, essentially. Which makes a lot of sense, because it's mentioned that he's actually got more cursed energy than Satoru Gojo, but the difference between him and Satoru is that Satoru, because of his cursed eyes, his six eyes, he's able to almost spend no cursed energy when he uses his technique. So he's able just to have essentially way longer lasting amounts of cursed energy because of the way that his abilities combine. But the raw general just amount that Yuta has is more. And I'm guessing that one of the reasons that it's going to be explained is that Satoru, he has other techniques besides his general just normal unlimited curse techniques and stuff. He's got some of the general just shaman and sorcerer abilities. I said shaman, I know it's been more in the official translated to sorcerer, but either way, they're just kind of outright generic techniques. He knows those as well. He knows seals and stuff. But I'm just guessing after we're finding out in this chapter, because it says because of his six eyes that he uses almost very, very little cursed energy to do any of his techniques. So I'm guessing that it's more towards how he uses them in his unlimited curse technique, because otherwise he would probably be able to just use any of his techniques en masse. So he's got an unlimited curse technique, so it's he really doesn't need anything else. It's really broken, but I believe it's more that the fact that combo together that he's able to do it, but if he tried to use something kind of way different, then it might not be the same of the usage. But that's just a speculation. But Yuta in this chapter, we don't really see a lot of his abilities. We see more of just his outright physical strength through his enhancements and his speed and stuff. There's a part where he immediately chases Yuji when Yuji goes on a run, and we're gonna have Choso versus Naoya, which that's gonna be really interesting, because Naoya is definitely hyped up just in his general his rank. We know where he sits at the story right now, but Choso is still a special grade, so I'm wondering how exactly that's gonna go. But he does have information on Choso, so he's got the advantage power wise, because Choso only has an idea of what Naoya can do with his curse technique. He says it's a speed technique, but he's not really too sure. And that's obviously a big thing in this series. If you have a way to get past somebody's abilities and somebody's just general moves, then you have a way to kind of beat them. At least you have more of the advantage, rather. Think of when Toji tacked Satoru, because he knew that Satoru would be way cockier with his abilities, and so he knew that he just had to get in with a cancel, bam, stabs him. He just takes advantage of him and his overconfidence. Or there's a part in Volume Zero. I can't remember the guy's name, the shaman or sorcerer from Africa, and he's got that whip that was like woven and imbued through like a bunch of people in his tribe, and it was able to like affect Satoru's infinity. So there are ways obviously around the certain abilities, especially if you have time to kind of prepare against them. But during this, like he immediately chases Yuji, and I want to see what else he can do, because this one it was more of just his general kind of prowess, like his just swordsmanship, like his swiftness and some of his physical strength. Because when Yuji at one point like pushes a car at him, kind of just like chucks the car, and Yuta just pushes it back. Like you see, like while he's running, the car just goes over his head, crashes into a building, and so you see like obviously his enhanced physical strength. And like when he's noting how he has a ton of cursed energy, but he can run out of it, I'm guessing that's why we don't see him use any of his other like crazier techniques. Like he's just going off of his swordsmanship and his opening moves. We'll probably see more of his name techniques and stuff that he can have, like when he used some of the wording techniques that Inomaki has, or maybe some just general more like cursed energy moves. Like I don't know like what the deal is going to be with him and like Rika, because we know Rika sort of passed on, but like he talked to Rika, so has he made like essentially a replica of Rika out of his cursed energy? Because then he also has stuff like the big massive energy beams that like she was gonna like she wasn't gonna fire, she did fire at the end of Volume Zero. So giant cursed energy attack, and there's no way he doesn't have a again, some of the old names like domain expansion, almost a territorial expansion, domain expansion. We can just go with that now that the reason, one of the reasons like I was sticking with the older names is like I really didn't like the official translator. He was a jerk, but he's gone now, so we can just go with whatever, because now there's no like bad word, or there's no bad vibes on the wording put in there. Is it happy that guy's not in the picture anymore, especially after we found out how bad a person he was. But there's no way he doesn't have domain expansion. No way. Like we know how powerful he is. He essentially has like this absurd high amount of cursed energy, probably the highest in terms of just straight quantity in the series. I really doubt we're gonna get any characters above him, because like him and like we know where Satoru sits, but like outright, if he has more cursed energy than Satoru, I doubt there's gonna be anybody above him in terms of just the sheer amount they have. Maybe Kamo Noritoshi if he has like some form of weird experimental way to have more. But otherwise, I don't really see him, or I don't really see anybody. Maybe Master Tengen, just because he's like the super big deal, but I doubt it. Like, but he's like a big question mark, because we don't really know what he's fully capable of in the series. We just know he's like a really big deal, and like that he's obviously very powerful. He's the only one actually I could really see like outright just having more. Just like, oh, if you're gonna have one character have more than Yuta, then that guy. Because Yuta having more than Satoru means that that's probably his thing, of just, not only does he have a lot of techniques at his disposal, and then just like straight physical prowess he's able to enhance like his capabilities to do, he's got a ton of it. So he's got a lot just to use and expend and distribute. And we haven't even seen him use Rika or anything in this chapter, so he's not fighting seriously yet. This is just him getting into things. And he even says that like his whole body, including his katana, is constantly cursing with cursed energy. And he's like, the problem isn't reading his moves. It's like his every attack can be decisive, and he can restrict all damage to a minimum. So he's being very careful right now. He's not trying to be like a big destructive force, whereas like when we see Yuta get serious, it's probably going to be, he's probably way more uncontrolled of just raw chaotic energy and destructive power than Satoru is. Like Satoru is, I would imagine, just because of the fact that he's got the 6 eyes, he's got like unlimited curse technique and everything, that it's way more, that he's got way more general control. Whereas like him unleashed, like he can just use his domain expansion and kill an opponent like if he wants to. Whereas like Yuta probably unleashed is just like, Hulk going all over the place, just becoming like a giant living calamity type thing. This chapter though was really fast to read, which is really surprising, because I thought this was going to be more of a wordy chapter. But I guess not. Like I said, it was more on just displaying Yuta. Yuta's back. He hasn't been. The weird thing is, it's not like he hasn't been in like, oh, X amount of time. He was only in volume 0 and then in a chapter cover. I think it was on chapter 32 and then mentioned in a couple of parts. But he otherwise hasn't been in the manga outside of volume 0. So this is the first time we're really getting a glimpse at him in like a full kind of like status. Because even in volume 0, he was very inexperienced, whereas now he's clearly got like the handle on things. So hyped in the next chapter. I really want to see just some of his techniques. The big thing, obviously, like, I want to see with any of the big characters is their main expansion. And I'm guessing Naoya, I feel like Naoya has to have it too, to be perfectly honest. Choso and Yuji as well. I really am hoping we get to a point where everybody, not everybody, but any big character has it. Because we've only seen really a handful, and the series is already at 140 chapters in. And we're at a point where we should only really be seeing big enough characters kind of pose threats, and any of those characters I would believe, I believe should have their domain expansion. Just because we know that, like, any of the fodder people should be gone after this point. Like, we don't need any fodder people anymore. We don't need to have, like, domain expansion every other chapter, but I assume any fight that's going to be serious, that it should have even a partial one. Like, it doesn't have to be a fully complete one, or even have to be, like, a fully broken one. It could just be one. And you could have, like, say you had, like, a character who was just, like, on measuring stick, they use it, but then maybe we see, like, Megumi use his, and it's, like, his is either complete, or his is strong enough to completely overlap somebody else's, some, like, character who, like, maybe a character's like, oh, I just mastered it, and then Megumi's like, okay, and then just kind of destroys his, and, gives him some hype. Anyway, other than that, though, comment below, tell me your thoughts on this chapter. Like I said, it was a very fast-to-read chapter. I really liked the, just the kind of small notings in there about, like, Yuta having more cursed energy than Satoru, but at the same time, he's explaining the way that Satoru is able to compensate for that with his 6 eyes and stuff. It's just the way that makes sense of why he's not going to be expending, like, his powers just at all points, but also him trying to keep damage to a minimum means he's being very... He's like being very held back. Like, he's holding back. And on top of that, he's making such more kind of selective moves that he's trying to settle this probably at, like, the lowest possible way. And then once Yuji starts to get serious, it's probably going to see Yuta start busting out bigger attacks and stuff. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everybody who's already subscribed. And thank you all for listening. Bye.